We're now ready to put the finishing touches on them. Like I said, at this time I would place the heel pad in to cover up your heel seat area. I would also take my rasp and rasp out whatever pegs I have on the inside. It's a shoe rasp. I also take and put it on a conventional shoe jack and just kind of pound down the rough spots on your insole. The pegged area for one. It just flattens things out a little bit, makes it a little smoother. Then if you have to, take and cut yourself a piece of a drum cake pad in half and go inside and sand it smooth. Leather sands very, very quickly. It doesn't take any time at all to smooth out any rough area. Make it as smooth as you can inside. From here we'll go over and we'll do the final finishing. I usually take a squirt bottle and just squirt along the edge like this, very lightly. And I hit the wooden pegs because it makes them stand up, makes them raise up. And then I do all the remaining finishing on the nom cake. You should have everything finished to the point where you would normally walk up and do your final sanding on the final paper. If you don't have a nom cake, I'd recommend you take about 100-120 grit paper and do it by hand, because you're going to want this just as nice and smooth as you can get it. As I stated before, you can take and put just a shoe oil on the bottom here, let it dry for a second, run it on a clean brush. I use a little beeswax and just clear beeswax and put on the brush and brush them. That I usually do next. Just on the area that I'm not going to be inking. Like I was telling you earlier, I use shoe ink on it now because of its color. If it was a darker color boot, then I would go ahead and use brown dye because it's a little more permanent. And I would also dye the rand area in here. I would take I use artist brushes, like so, and I would spend the time and I would dye this area. On a light colored boot like this, you can't do that because it will bleed on you, something terrible. So I use just conventional shoe ink. You can use that fine brush if you want. Feel a little steadier at it. A lot of the things that you think you aren't touching, I'll show you here when I get done with the rand how it stands out. The rand would stand out a lot plainer on a darker color boot also. That's one of the reasons why I do like to color it. If you were to take a grooving tool and want to groove a line on your shank, you would want to do it before you ink it, because then it would act like a bleed line and stop the ink exactly where you wanted it. I find it a little easier just to do it freehand. If this was a darker boot, and I were to hold it like this, your rand would stick out much, much more. But because the rand is blending in color-wise with the top of the boot, I'm going to leave it alone. That one's ready to go. We've got to let it dry for a few minutes. The other one I've already ink for you so we can keep right on going with it. This is Yankee wax. It's a colored beeswax you can get from any shoe finder. Put it on my burnishing wheel. And I run around the edge. I go around the sole, around the heel. I don't worry about the shank yet. Try not to hit the top, which is going to be more touch-up you have to do later if you do. You don't have to get every single square inch of it. This color has a tendency to spread. I'll show you a little trick later here that you'll understand why you don't have to get every inch of it. Okay, I basically ran my beeswax around the edge. I don't have any at all right here because this is a very hard area to get into. Same with this area right in here. Very difficult to get into. Shank as well. This is called a welt brush. Very narrow brush with about 1.25 inch bristles on it, but it's very stiff. This goes on where your stitch picker would go on. For those of you not in the repair trade, this is a stitch picker. When you go to repairing your boot, you're going to want to pull your old stitches out, your old sole stitches that you used to sew the sole on. This fits on in the same place and will pull the stitches out. Don't ever sew a new sole on without taking your old stitches out. Put a little color on the brush, and then you can use it just like a paintbrush. You can paint in those areas that are hard to get to. You can take color off and you can put color on just by the degree of hardness that you push on the brush. And just go ahead and color right on around with it. This is also the tool that I use to touch up the shank with. Put the color on the shank. Put a little more color on your brush. This is the area I'm going to color next. You can get right into the heel. You can even color the breast of the heel with it. They can color the bottom of your heel, the rubber heel cap itself. Don't ever forget that. It needs some attention as well. Then I take my welt brush off and I put an edge iron on it. This is simply a steel iron molded in about the same cut radius and so forth as your trimming knife is. Your trimming knife's on the other side. And you're going to take and iron this sole edge here. Most of the machinery, if you have machinery that's intact, will have a rubbing block that will rub against this edge iron to make it hot. These irons should get hot. If you've had equipment that this has been robbed off of, just press hard enough and hold it there and it will get hot on it. This one I can take and snap on like that and it'll rub against this and get it nice and hot for me. So I can put a little color on it. Beeswax melts at a fairly low temperature, so it isn't hot in the sense of boiling hot. You aren't going to burn your edge, but what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to set this edge to where it's going to keep its color for a longer period of time. It's going to look nicer. We're going to set a nice little bead around the edge of it, all adding up to a better job. This is going to be around the sole area only now. You can't get around the heel with it. But it does take and lay your welt down nice. Makes for a much nicer finished boot. It also makes for a nicer finished repair job if you're going to get into the repair end of it. Okay, flicker off and let her cool. Lightly run it over your brown brush. got the shank area done, the heel done, your edge is done, and the edge is set nice. You take, put her on your jack now. You can take a pattern marker, stitch marker, they call them any number of things. It's just a simple star wheel. If you want, you can take and run a line around your colored area just to give it a little decoration, like so. Can you pick up on that at all? Okay. Just to doll it up a little bit. Okay, I've got one little spot where I nicked the top here. We'll put some color on there, and I've got to take a little bit of color off here. So I'll show you how to touch up your tops and finish them, and you'll have your boots ready to go. We're ready to go. Here's a few things that I've learned to use in touch-ups that work very, very well. They make colored touch-up pens. You can buy them from your shoe finder. He can get them for you. They're about 20 bucks for 10 colors. I've discovered that good old Crayola crayons in their multitude of colors work very well. If you've got a little nick or a little spot where some color has come off, I haven't found anything yet that I can't touch up with these Crayola crayons. Another thing that works very, very, very well are these putty sticks you buy for touching up furniture. Work very well. The lighter the leather, the harder it is at times to blend in the color. You can get into the Meltonian polishes and come up with a shade. Oh, I've mixed different colors together to come up with different shades. So close that you'll know it's there, but nobody else will. If you have to remove a little bit of ink or something that you've got on the edge, we've got one little spot here. Denatured alcohol works very well. I use just plain old cement thinner. Use a clean rag. Paper towels work well because you aren't going to be touching it over and over and over again. And then let it dry because it's going to evaporate out. We take a putty stick and go in here and touch this one up. I'll show you. The big boys do this all the time. It isn't something that I try not to get the top of the boot, but you're going to. Inevitably, you're going to put a mark on it somewhere. Okay, now we're going to take and feather it out a little bit. And by the time I get done shining this boot, you're not really going to notice it. I'll feather it out a little bit more over here. Take a good polish, work a good polish into them. If you're working with shark skin, if you're working with some of the exotics, I take and put a coat of Lexol on them first, let them dry overnight, and then I shine them. After you've polished the boot, if you're going to polish up on the uppers where you've got multicolored stitching, use a neutral polish. No colors, so that you won't be coloring your threads. Polish your boot up to where she's good and dry, and then I go over the boot lightly with just a spray shine. I've seen many, many different types of finishes. A very, very light coat of this looks identical on it, and it isn't nearly as expensive. I don't mean a gallon of it, I mean just very lightly mist over the whole boot. Bottom included. This is new too. Let the boot dry for about a good hour before you touch it again. Your polish is going to be tacky, this is going to be tacky, and nothing looks worse than a good fingerprint right on the side of it. That, if you follow our instructions, you shouldn't have any trouble making a boot just like it. They look nice, they have a good line to them. I have very, very little trouble with fit. They have a tall enough heel counter on them to where they don't sag readily like the new factory styles do. You should be able to make a boot that you're proud of. Maybe not the first one, but the second or third one without any trouble. It should look great. The rest of what you're going to do is going to be strictly practice. The more boots you do, the more practice you're going to have. I think we've covered everything very, very well. The rest is going to be experience on your part. I didn't do anything nearly as fast as I am doing it now the first time out, so don't feel that you have to either. Take your time. Take your time and go over a step till you feel you've got it right. With these tapes, as you're making a pair of boots, you're going to have the benefit of being able to go back find the spot that you're in question and watch it again. I wish I would have had that opportunity than to go back, talk to somebody, and 3 months later start the project again and wonder what I forgot, go through my notes, maybe I didn't take it down properly. To be able to see somebody make that particular stage over and over and over and over is much more valuable than to listen to it on a tape or look through your notes and see if you found it. Hands-on practical experience is even better yet. I'll agree with that. If you have the equipment, you've got it made. Other than that post machine, if you've got a shoe repair shop, you've got your equipment. You will want to invest in a flatbed and a post machine in time. You can put this whole boot together on your patching machine without any trouble on it. I've done it. I know it can be done. So with that, why don't you tear into it and start making a pair?